Tom Brady spent 22 seasons in the National Football League, building a legacy that no other player in the history of professional football has matched. 7 Super Bowl championships, 5 Super Bowl Most Valuable Player awards, more playoff wins than any quarterback who has ever taken a snap. By every measurable standard the sport has ever used, he is the greatest to play the game. But this week, in a series of interviews and social media posts that have quietly circulated through sports media and beyond, Tom Brady offered an admission that no trophy can address. He said that his life, for much of its most important chapter, did not feel like his own. And the timing of that admission tells a story that the statistics never could. What exactly did Brady say, and why is the timing of it so significant? To answer that, you have to go back not to his playing days, but to a small ceremony that took place in Surfside, Florida on December 3rd of 2025. With a marriage license issued just 2 days before the event, Gisele Bündchen quietly married Joaquim Valente, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu instructor, in a private gathering attended only by close family and her 2 children. No magazine cover, no celebrity photographer, no reception for 300 guests. Just a woman, a man, and the decision to begin again. 2 weeks after that ceremony, the news reached the broader public. And shortly after that, Brady posted something brief and uncharacteristic on social media, a short caption attached to a song, suggesting that his life no longer felt fully his own. The football world tried to pass it, but anyone paying close attention understood what it meant. This is not simply a celebrity divorce story. It is something more durable and more universally recognizable than that. It is the story of what happens when a person confuses being exceptional at work with being present at home. And it is the story of a woman who waited longer than most would, gave more than most could, and eventually made a decision that no amount of fame or fortune could reverse. When Gisele Bündchen and Tom Brady met in 2006, the power dynamic that the public assumed was not quite accurate. Brady was a successful quarterback, talented and rising, but Bündchen at that point was arguably the most recognizable model alive. She was the highest-paid model in the world. Her face had appeared on the covers of hundreds of magazines across dozens of countries. She had built a commercial empire through sheer discipline and global appeal. She was the star in the equation, and she chose him. That is worth sitting with for a moment. A woman who could have partnered with virtually any man on the planet looked at a football player from California and decided he was the one. They married in 2009, and what followed, at least from the outside, looked like the kind of life that fairy tales borrow from. But what was the cost she paid to build that life alongside him, and did Brady ever fully understand it? The answer to that question is the center of everything that followed. Bündchen stepped back from her career in meaningful ways during the years of their marriage. Not scaled back, not adjusted, but genuinely paused significant portions of what had made her one of the most powerful women in the fashion industry. She was present for the children, Benjamin and Vivian. She managed the household. She built a wellness brand in the margins of her time, and she showed up to games, to events, to the public appearances that being Tom Brady's wife required. What she was not getting in return, according to everything that has since come to light, was the one thing she had asked for consistently: his time, his presence, his attention when the cameras were off and the season was quiet. The pattern, as those close to the situation have described it, was one of perpetual deferral. After this game, after this playoff run, after this championship, after the season. The word after became a kind of address, a place where their real life was supposed to begin once football finally allowed it. And for years, she waited at that address. Then came 2022, and a moment that would prove to be the turning point. Brady, at age 44, announced his retirement from professional football. He held a press conference. He said the things expected of a man stepping away from the only career he had ever known. He thanked his family. He spoke of looking forward to what was next. And for Gisele Bündchen, according to people familiar with the situation, it felt like a long exhale. 13 years of waiting for after had finally produced it. He was done. He was coming home. The family was going to have what she had been asking for since before their children could walk. 40 days later, he announced he was coming back. One more season, one more run. The retirement, as it turned out, had lasted less than 6 weeks, And that reversal, more than any single argument or incident, appears to be the moment from which the marriage did not recover. She had reorganized her expectations around his word. She had told herself, and likely her children, that things were going to change. And then they did not. Within months, the separation had begun. By October of 2022, the public statement was issued. Two people growing apart, a mutual decision. The kind of language that is chosen carefully to protect children and preserve dignity. But what does growing apart actually mean when one person is asking to be chosen and the other keeps choosing something else? That is the honest version of what happened here, and it is the version Brady himself has gradually started to acknowledge. In interviews over the past year, he has said things that would have been unthinkable coming from him during his playing days. He has said he wishes he had been more present. He has said that his greatest regret involves the time he did not give to the people closest to him. He has said in so many words that he confused being the best quarterback in the world with being the best version of himself for his family. Those are not small admissions for a man whose entire professional identity was built on the idea that maximum commitment to excellence was always the right answer. In football, that philosophy produced 7 championships. In his marriage, it produced something else entirely. Brady is 48 years old now. He has a broadcasting career that pays him handsomely to analyze a game he no longer plays. He has more financial security than most people could spend in several lifetimes. He has the rings, the records, the respect of an entire sport. And he is also a man who watched the mother of his children marry someone else in a quiet ceremony in Florida, while he was still processing what it all meant. The man she married is not a celebrity. He is not a billionaire. He does not have a highlight reel or a signature deal. What he had and what she needed was simpler than any of that. He was available. He was consistent. He was present. He was willing to show up without being asked twice. What does it say about a relationship when the thing that ends it is not a betrayal, but an absence? That is the quiet and uncomfortable truth at the center of this story. There was no scandal in the traditional sense. There was no dramatic breach of trust, no third party introduced into the marriage while it was still intact. There was simply a woman who spent over a decade asking for her husband's attention, and a man who, by his own subsequent admission, did not give it to her in the way she needed. And when the marriage was over and the legal process had concluded, she moved forward with someone whose primary qualification was that he simply showed up. Bündchen and Valente had been photographed together as early as 2023, holding hands in Costa Rica, dropping children at school in Miami, spending time with her family in Brazil. By 2024, there was no ambiguity about the nature of the relationship. And in early 2025, she welcomed a third child, a son, with Valente, a new family, built on a foundation of presence rather than prestige. And then in December of that year, the wedding in Surfside. Private, unhurried, exactly the kind of moment she had apparently been looking for all along. The photographs that emerged after the ceremony were not dramatic. They were quiet. A woman who looked, by every visible measure, like someone who had arrived somewhere after a very long journey. And if Tom Brady saw those photographs, and it is reasonable to assume he did, they would have told him something no conversation or legal document ever quite managed to. She was not waiting anymore. She had moved on, not as an act of defiance, not to make a point, but because she had found what she had been trying to find within the marriage for 13 years. For men of a certain age, and certainly for the audience following this story, there is something in this account that resonates beyond the celebrity dimension, because the pattern described here is not unique to famous people. The instinct to defer the personal in favor of the professional, to believe that providing materially is the same as being present, to promise that things will slow down after one more push, one more milestone, one more achievement. That pattern plays out in households across the country every single day. And the lesson embedded in Brady's own words is the same lesson that plays out in far less public circumstances all the time. You do not get to keep what you do not consistently choose. Brady has 7 Super Bowl rings. He has every record of consequence the sport offers. He has the kind of legacy that will be discussed for as long as professional football exists. What he does not have is the marriage. He does not have the family intact under one roof. He does not have the years that passed while he was somewhere else.